Where the heck did Sarah go? Okay, we looked
Now
up.
we're streaming. Yeah,
Yeah, now we're streaming.
And you're live.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. So board members, the motion before you is moved by, seconded by, that the Clearview Public Library Board approve an indefinite leave of absence from the Clearview Public Library Board as requested by trustee Connie Leishman.
Okay, does someone want to make that motion?
I so move.
Okay,
Kimberly?
seconded by John. Anybody? I guess all in favor?
Aye.
So much.
Okay, back to the agenda.
All right, so the next item on the agenda then is deputations and presentations, and that we heard from no one, so there are none.
Okay, now the approval of these minutes of the
November
minutes of the
16th.
previous meeting, which were
Yes.
circulated earlier. Does somebody want to make that motion? Thanks, Pam and John. Okay,
Okay, thank you very much. I can find my.
all right, the reports, Jennifer.
Okay. So, the Stainer door. He hates it, my precious. I've been waiting. I've called about 5 times about this. Terry Vachon has given me the name of another contractor who could repair the door. So hopefully when I'm in this week, I'll be able to reach out to him and get this done. The other thing that has come up with the door since I wrote this report is a problem with the locking. So we have tomorrow morning, we have the alarm technician coming up to work on that. It seems to have stemmed from when they set up for the Parks and Rec staff to be in control of the fobs for the doors. But we will get it resolved, hopefully tomorrow morning. Now, at the last meeting, this is the Business Rising report, of course, we had talked about, Mary, you had brought up putting the vaccination policy requirements into the job descriptions. And the township human resource manager responded, and you can see what she has said. She said that the requirement of employees of the board and the township to be vaccinated should be captured as a condition of employment and not as a specific job. So the job description is to talk about their duties, not their contract with us as the employer. And accordingly, all job notifications and all contracts when the township or Clearview Public Library Board are hiring will have that specified in it, but she feels very strongly that it should not be in the job description. I did contact CEOs across the province, and I only had one whose board decided that it should be. The rest of them were putting it into job advertisements and into the actual contract with the individual. Accordingly, since you've you told me if there were no changes not to reprint print out all the job descriptions. So, but you do have them. If you don't have them to hand, you can go back into the website and find them in the previous month's agenda package.
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend that we make a motion to approve the job descriptions.
Okay, does somebody want to bring that motion forward? Bob, seconded by,
I'll second it.
okay, all
Kimberly.
in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Thank you so much. And I never want to see them again.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle, if you could unmute yourself and speak to the Stainer branch grand opening. I can confirm that we have checked with the other departments in the municipality, and we do have the community center in Stainer booked for this, and it is not a conflict with other events. Michelle.
Correct. Okay, so May 14th is the day that's been chosen. We're looking at a late morning, early afternoon event. With what's happening now, though, as well, I'm still wondering and massaging my initial plans. Hopefully, we're out of this 4th wave. We may not be. So it's still 4 or 5 months away. I'll keep you posted as things happen. But there will be unicorns. There will be rainbows. There'll be lots of fun, lots of activities for all family members, and there'll be a few surprises as well, too. So
I think the biggest surprise will it happen on May 14th.
yeah, unfortunately, I'm not feeling too optimistic like the boss right now. So,
Well, they don't call me worst case scenario, Jenny, for nothing. The only proviso I would put in, Michelle, is if you have any food or drink planned for it, make it such that we can easily cancel that out if we are allowed to go on with the event, but we shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, because
right, yeah, no, I've changed that from sort of making it on site to individually wrapped takeaways. If we go that way, they can be
that's a good
stored,
idea, right?
and it will be bought last minute as well.
All right,
So,
so
yeah.
some of well, it'll be amazing no matter what, as long as it happens. And if it doesn't happen, it'll happen later. But hopefully May 14th is the date.
That's what's set right now.
And that pretty much concludes the business.
You had
around-
mentioned something about the QR.
Was that
Oh.
in there or was that in the? next-
Yeah, it was right before Michelle.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep. Skipped right over that. Okay. So we've already started having people come and get their QR codes because of what we've heard from the province. People are afraid that their second vaccination certificate won't be good enough. The only issue there, and we're not telling people this, but I'm sure they'll figure it out, is if the government says at some point that you need to be able to show you've had your booster too, they're going to have to come back and get it again. At any rate, when the government has said that the vaccine receipts are no longer valid, that you have to have the QR code, we will again be printing QR codes for free and helping people with that. And we will laminate them for free for a 2-week period. After that, people will either have to walk away with the paper copy or pay for the lamination. Michelle, do you remember what we were charging? Is it $1 or $1.50?
It's $1 for the lamination, and we're certainly making money from it, which means we're printing a lot of them.
Yes, there's lots of people coming in, and there will be even more, I'm sure, in the near future. It's what-
Something?
Well, your QR code right now isn't even showing that if you've had your booster, that you've had your booster. So
So
If you
just,
if you
I
have your
just had
booster,
mine.
It does
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob got his
you
done
don't
on
do it now, but
weekend.
if you had your QR code done after your second shot,
Right. No,
and
it
then
wouldn't
you had
show.
your booster, so we may get repeat customers.
Right.
No, okay, so Jennifer, I got my booster on the weekend and they sent an email.
Mhm.
And once you put in your information, a QR code pops up like on
Yeah.
a piece of paper.
Mhm.
And people with a smartphone can take a picture of it and it goes into your
Yeah,
Google
and,
or
and
like
that's
your
what
Apple wallet.
most of the people that we're getting to help are not people with smartphones. I mean,
No, so people might want that available, like there is a QR code that is being done with the booster, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying that if you've been walking around, you got your QR code after your second vaccine, if the province decides that you have to show a QR code that shows you've had the booster,
Right.
they're going to be coming back in. At any rate, we will manage this, but we won't have the extensive period of time that we did before for people to laminate for free. That, but we will still be helping. Most of the people who are coming in, well, not all of them, some have their information, but a lot of them don't even know how to get into the portal to get it. So there's a lot of one-on-one socially distanced assistance happening. And that's okay, because I really think that we're going to get more memberships and more, we're seeing more as a value to the community by offering this service.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes staff are run off their feet.
Yeah, there is a bit of a problem in that those emails or that vaccine certificate disappears after 5 days. You know, then you have to go into the system and get it
well,
again.
you can save a copy of it. So
Yeah, you can, if you
Yeah.
have a computer. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
I know,
it's one of many little hiccups in this whole nightmare scenario.
I know, exactly.
We'll get for, okay, so if we can go to the CEO's report.
Yeah.
again,
Before
just-
we go to the
Uh,
CEO's report, there was something else that was in the minutes and then the meeting last, the October meeting.
Oh, well, okay.
Was it October or November meeting? What talked about the side entrance and AODA compliance with that side entrance. And I think was our CEO going to look at
Okay, yes,
something with that?
that has been brought up with, at senior management team meeting. So there is a recognition that that will be addressed in the new year. regardless of whether the landscaping is approved or not, there is a realization that something has to be done there. Of course, because the other issue that was raised at the senior management's meeting related to that is the drainage issue
Right.
near there. Drainage issue does not affect the building. Okay, the building is designed that whether that gets landscaped properly or whatever, it's all going off away from the building. But it is an issue for water buildup and everything, since that is an access route for fire to the back of the building. So
Yes.
that is going to be addressed in the new year. The Parks Culture and Recreation General Manager does realize the importance of that, and it's not going to happen in the winter, but it is going to happen as soon as we can make it happen, Bob.
Okay.
So-
Okay, CEO's report.
Okay, so the first thing on there is just that I will be taking some vacation after the Christmas break, and I'll be back. I'll be back working, whether I'm working from home or in the office. I'm not sure. The library is working in teams, at least the senior management staff are, mirroring what is happening at the township. And when the township staff are fully back into the administrative center, then the library staff will be fully back in working in the branches, except for things like when they have to do videos or Zoom. Our children's librarian is currently doing Zoom story time to the kindergarten classes throughout the township. So she's going to be doing that from home, because just it's very hard to film that sort of thing when you've got a lot of background noise and things going on in the library. But other than that, we'd be back in the building. So we're really waiting to see where the township is on that. And of course, the township is planning this, township staff are planning this based on what is happening with the pandemic. So I hate to say everything's up in the air, but everything's up in the air. Programs, we're continuing to do all our programs virtually, except Michelle has run two book sales, two successful book sales at the Stainer branch. And when we do that, we are ensuring that there's capacity limits for how many people can come in and access the materials at one time. And we're also requiring that they have proof of vaccination. But at this time, there is no intention to move forward to in-person programs. In fact, I can tell you that most public libraries across the province that had started to do in-person programs have now moved back to not doing in-person programs and moving everything virtually. Closure, our branches will close at noon, December 24th, and we will also close at noon the Friday before New Year's Day. Other than that, we are open in between those dates on our regular pandemic hours, which means we're closed Tuesdays so we can catch up on everything, and because we're short-staffed. And we do have things going on, kits and things of that sort. There's activities going on in that period, because I know the kids are off. My performance review. Okay, I have discussed my personal goals with the board chair this month, and you will be receiving those along with my self-assessment form as part of the agenda for the January meeting. That will be sent to you separate from the agenda for the meeting, because it's about an identifiable individual, and that will have to be well, you can receive that for the January meeting. I don't know if we need to discuss it at that. The actual in-camera meeting related to that will take place at the February meeting. Okay, at which time I will make sure you have all the forms to fill out in advance so you can grade me. And there's always room for improvement for everybody. But this is the first go round that we've done. So it'll be a learning experience for all of us. Okay, so the strategic plan review, again, I apologize. A lot of this we're not on top of because we've been, backed up with what's going on with the pandemic. And I will tell you again that at least 25% of my time is now spent dealing with COVID and pandemic related issues as they affect the library. Goal one was the transition to the new Stainer branch. We have got to change the title of that maybe in the new year, because we're already in and we have been since 2020. We need to review I know you talked about, we've pushed back the renewal or the looking at the branch hours. And I think that's great, but please keep in mind, although that we've set this for 2022, we really need to be operating normal hours for a particular period of time. So we've got some data that I can get in terms of how we're being used to be able to come up with a better solution. Otherwise, it's just conjecture. So I am thinking that third or fourth quarter of 2022 would be a good time to do this, but that will be subject to when we open up again. I know some libraries are talking about, are we going back to curbside soon? Well, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you that. But, it's something like that occurring would really affect how we approach things like this, because you need some lead up period. Our second goal is accessibility. What we really want is for people to be able to access collections, and the whole thing about the countywide reciprocal borrowing got put on everybody's back burner because of the pandemic. But as we move through the pandemic, hopefully coming out of it or near the end of it in 2022 at some point, I can tell you that every other CEO in this county is very anxious to get their board working on this. So it is not just sitting there because it's not seen as important. It's seen as important by every library board in the county, including the larger library boards, as making collections and materials more accessible to people without, going to our municipalities and asking for tons more money. And not just our collections, it would also mean programs, right?
Mhm.
You could go to Midland, and if you picked up a Midland card and the program was only available to card holders, you would now have access to the program. So there's a lot of benefits to this. I don't see any real detractions, and we are moving towards that. Goal 3 is organization review and update. And the only outstanding item at this time is the systematical review of library policies. And I can certainly get on this in 2022, in terms of late 2022, in terms of, just sitting and making them all look the same, because some of them are really old, and it would be nice to sit down with a policy manual and have the layout the same throughout. It would be less confusing for the board. It would be less confusing for staff. And if a patron is interested in a policy because they don't agree with something, it would be a lot easier for them to understand what's going on if everything looked the same. So we need to do that. And I could, if with your permission, I can do that in next year. But what you really need is, yes, Bob.
I just wondering whether or not that's a job that we might be able to get a summer student to do for you.
Well, we don't have anything in the budget for a summer student to do that. We have summer students to do the, well, I haven't applied for it yet, but I will be applying tomorrow for the Canada Summer Jobs program, but they have to do specific things. This is not one of the things that they would be authorized to do with this grant. So,
Hey, why do you keep hanging up on
because
me?
I'm in a meeting, go away. Don't have children. So it would be, I don't, they're all over the place. Most of them are on my computer. I can do it. It's not that big a deal once I get the format down to then take the information and put it in and change the font size and that sort of thing. But the real big thing is what you guys need to do, which is look at each of the policies and say, does this need to be adjusted? And I think the first time you do this, we're not talking about, well, let's change the wording, because, but what you want to do is, do we need to modify this? This is what we currently have for charges for this. Do we, it hasn't been updated in this period of time. Do we want to change that? Do we want to change? So what you really need to do is have a small group with Michelle and I assisting you, but looking at the policies, especially the ones that maybe need to be adjusted, and seeing what recommendations do we need to take to the board. I really think that's a governance issue and something the board needs to work on with our assistants rather than just me telling you what to do, which I am quite happy to do to everybody, including the child that I just told to get off the phone. But really, it needs to come to you. You're representing the community in terms of library services, and you need to do this. Now, again, I don't think you're going to have time to do this until well into 2022. So you don't necessarily have to strike a committee right now because you'd just be sitting there for a while, not doing too much. But that's something that you need to look at organizing in the first quarter of 2022 so that you've got the committee in place for when we have time to start working on that. If that makes sense to everybody
Okay.
else. We really haven't done anything on space development and modernization. One of the things that we were looking in there is ensuring that all our workspaces are ergonomic and should we redesign any workspaces? Well, we redesigned all the workspaces because suddenly we had to be 6 feet apart and all these other things. So really, again, I think we need to have some kind of normalcy before we can sit down and have an intelligent conversation about how do we do that.
Yeah.
And the greening the library, no new action on there. I would say that the OLA conference is going to be held virtually again this year from February 1st to 5th. The board members are only $150. Again, because everything's virtual and the budget hasn't been approved by council yet, but I don't think they're going to nitpick on our conference costs. We don't have costs for hotel or mileage or meals. So I've got money in there if a lot of you want to attend. Now, you don't have to attend every day. If you only attend a couple of sessions a day, or you can only attend 1 or 2 sessions, it's okay. But if you
Jennifer,
can attend,
so
that would
just
be great. Yes,
one
Pam.
thing to, at least one thing they did that was amazing last year was that all of the sessions were recorded. So if you did attend virtually, and you couldn't go to a certain session, it was amazing because you could watch it later. So at least that's one thing. If the timing's not right for you, that's one thing that you could do is watch them later.
And you can go back and reference them too.
Yeah, some of the information was open until August. You could go
Yeah.
back and take a look at it. And sometimes you see 2 sessions that you really want to go to, and they're on at the same time. In the past, you couldn't go. Now with the recording of them, you can go to both of them. So it's nice.
And it really is a way to, you don't get to interact with your peers the way you used to, but you get to, one of the issues we have is that we're very insular. I mean, we talk to each other, we know our township, we know the needs of the area. And for staff, we get to talk to other library staff in the county. But this is a way for us to interact or hear from library systems across the province. And I can't stress enough how valuable that is because they're not all the size of Toronto. There are a lot of systems just the same size as us. And you can really garner some good ideas from being able to see what other people in similar situations are doing. So I highly recommend, see if you want to attend, if you can't attend at that time, you're right. Pam and Mary, you can watch it later. You can watch it in the evening. You can watch it the next week. But I would encourage all of you to really look at what is going to be in the schedule. And there's no price break for public library board trustees. So we can register you right up to the day. Okay. That's not a problem. I think there's a price break for Michelle and I, and I'll get some other staff into it as well. Although I won't freak you out with it yet, Michelle, because she has to do the scheduling and that's been pretty nutsy. But yes, so I certainly encourage you to attend that if you want to.
So we'll just let you know.
If you let me know, I will register you and then we'll go.
Yeah, register me, Jennifer.
Register me, please.
Okay, but you don't have to make up your mind the rest of you now. Just if you see stuff you want, let me know. All right. And that's it for, oh my God. Yep, that's it for that.
Okay. And there's just our statistics.
Yeah,
Well, just our statistics.
yes. And there's no correspondence this month, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The numbers are pretty good for programs.
They are. Now, the number for circulation is down from not only last year, but even from last month. And I'm not sure why that is. I think some people, I know we're busier in some respects, but I think some people are getting a little hesitant about going out and doing things.
Yeah.
Library users are off, not always, but a lot of them are a little more traditional than the population as a whole. So I'm not surprised if some of them are holding back. But you can see we still have some curbside numbers.
Mhm.
So if we had to slip back into that role, it would be easy.
Yeah.
And I will let you know if we have to. I've been sending you emails about what the province is doing, which has been incredibly confusing for libraries, as I'm sure it has been for other sectors. But if something comes out that we suddenly have to switch gears, I will send out an email to all of you so that you're up to date.
Yeah, good. Okay. Any questions about the bank accounts? Anybody have any concerns there, or the ledger, the GL? Mary, did you want to discuss your notes from the meeting you went to under new business now?
Sure, I'll just do it very briefly.
Okay.
I sent you just a little summary, 3-page summary. I'm new to this role, so I have no idea the background when you're planning the transition to a new board, for example, or if this is something new that is being kind of orchestrated from this central body now, the Library Services Board. But there were 2 areas that came up that were of some interest at the meeting, and I thought might be something that we also might take a look at. And that's on page 2 at the bottom. The Federation of Public Libraries is looking into some accountability for school library funding, because they discovered that there has been continuous funding going to the school boards for libraries, but the boards have been using it for other purposes, and they closed libraries down and did a bunch of other stuff. Now, probably out here, we didn't see the strain as obviously, but in a city, what that meant for city libraries is that there was a huge strain when the students started hitting the public library system to get the same kind of services. Interesting, I think, because that tells you that the teacher librarians have a very high role in their schools, and that it is a lot of work to add that on to the public library system. So they're going to be investigating that, and I don't know if we have anything discernible that we could contribute to that discussion that has been noticed by people working at the libraries. Pam, you would know some of the situations from the schools.
Really, all I know about that is that Simcoe County, in our contract, we are staffed for one high school teacher librarian per high school, and then one elementary school library, and that hasn't changed. I do know in some systems that they have cut funding, or they have cut libraries. It's interesting that each school gets a budget for their library based on what their principal decides. in some elementary schools, the elementary libraries are only funded if the teacher librarian does like a book fair, that the high school, or that the principal does not give them money. So if, you know, they're getting money from at the school board level and it's not coming to students directly, like that's just sort of coming to light recently. But there's always been this unfair distribution of funding at schools because it's only contingent on what the principal decides. So some are very supportive, mine is. Others are, yeah, it says, you know, I'd rather have a score clock for the gym, you know. So I'm curious about where this goes with this investigation.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful for some clarification, certainly for the schools. I was in an elementary school library and I was really lucky. I was very supported, and I didn't rely on my own fundraising. But I know too that, you know, when I was at the meetings, that there was huge discrepancy, and there was also a pretty transparent attempt to take the teacher out of the library and put them into planning time and things like that. But in addition to that, it's also pointing out that there is a need in the schools that is met and hasn't been met recently. And now the public library systems are feeling that. And they are, of course, limited in their funding as well. So they want to make sure that that responsibility clearly goes back to the schools, and that they fund their stuff, and that they can go ahead because they have a lot of areas to cover with their own funding. So that was one thing that came up. And the other one was that they're recommending that us as a board, the library board, start to conduct annual self-evaluations of ourselves as a board. And so they are starting to provide documents for that. And I thought that might be worth a discussion in the new year to see if we proceed with that.
Okay,
So
Bob, did you want
those,
to? Yeah. Sorry, Mary.
so those are the two major things. And then, of course, there's all kinds of information there's overflow of information at the moment because it's a whole new organization, and they're just endless emails coming in that I'm saving and moving to a whole file. Most of them I look at quickly and go, yeah, I don't need to know this stuff. And I sent Jennifer a couple questions, and I just said, these are questions that are coming. Some people need to know that when they reply, they don't need to reply to everybody. They just need to reply to the person that asked the question. And so I don't have to get the answer and all the other stuff too. So it's a learning process.
Mary,
Yeah.
in the I read through your report, and I thought I read somewhere in there that with regard to the school funding, the province or somebody was going to be instituting an audit program to verify that the funds were being directed where they're supposed to be.
I think that is going to be one of the things that is an outcome of this. And so I think there is a move to make the school boards accountable for their money that they receive for one purpose, that they've been using for other purposes. Yeah. It's probably overdue, but I think that COVID has highlighted it. It's become really clear.
So that probably should go a long way towards resolving any discrepancies in the funding for the individual libraries.
Yeah. Well, again, like it's at least going to make it to the school level, but then you've also got to have some kind of accountability for the principal as well to get the money into the department that it's supposed to go to. So there's going to have to be a whole sort of review of that process from individual schools all the way up and branching out. But I just thought it was interesting that it was that it's taking place. It's well overdue. And it could really help libraries, public libraries, who may have been trying to cover that gap without realizing why it's happening.
I don't think any of us in public libraries didn't realize why it was happening.
Exactly.
Okay. So you knew that there was
Oh, yeah. And they've
Yeah.
been trying to do something about this for the past 20 years, but this is the closest they've come to getting some kind of resolution.
Oh, okay. Okay. See, this is
It's an
something
ongoing-
new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ongoing thing. And it does affect, I mean, we are much smaller than most of the libraries you were talking about that are noticing a direct effect on them. But we also in Clearview Township have a very large homeschooling group.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a lot of the material that, yes, gets used as backup for the school system libraries is also used by people who are dealing with the same curriculum, but don't have access to the school libraries because they're homeschooling. So even if, school libraries get better, more consistent funding that they can rely on, and can improve their collections accordingly and their electronic resources and that sort of thing, there would still be the expectation that we support the curriculum to some extent because the homeschooling groups are growing, probably right now because of the pandemic, but I think the movement in general was growing anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that we might want to take a look at in the new year really is the one about starting to evaluate ourselves as a board, and getting something in place for that.
I think that's a very good idea. I think you need to get through your first CEO evaluation before you
Right.
start looking at a board evaluation. But certainly, we should probably come up with something in 2022 to implement maybe in 2023.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other than that, I just gave you the listservs and the other things that you can opt into and take a look at. If you've got spare time and want to take a look, you can go into the government's hub newsletter and browse around for a while and make yourself more familiar with that stuff. I intend to do that. I just have to get a space after Christmas gets through and chance to sit down. So.
Can I just commend the way you wrote that up? It was very easy to find things and it was interesting to read, both in terms of content, but the format made it eye-catching. You wanted to go forward and read more.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
I did not want to overwhelm you with all the paraphernalia that I got overwhelmed with, and I thought I can make this simpler. So that's what I did.
No, it's very good. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business that someone would like to bring forward? Oh, Bob?
Just something that occurred to me as we were going through the agenda, talking about the CEO's review. Since this is the first time we have done this, there's probably going to be a lot of discussion and work through. I would recommend that we have a special meeting and that we don't try to do that during a regular meeting.
Okay.
So if we could arrange to have to call a special meeting just for that purpose,
Okay.
I think it would be beneficial for everybody concerned, and that would give us some time when we wouldn't be worried about too much of the normal business of the meeting being pushed.
Okay.
And then we could do that. Well, that'll have to be done, I guess, as a in-camera session, entire in-camera session.
Right. Maybe
So-
early February or something.
Yeah. So, well, we'll.
Yeah.
Jennifer,
Let's
when
make
did you
it
say?
late February, because the first week of February is the OLA conference, and then we have
Oh,
the
right.
board meeting on the 15th. So if we made it
Right.
the following week or the week after, that would be.
Okay.
I'll let you pick that, Madam Chair, but like,
Okay,
don't
that's great.
overwhelm me or I won't attend.
Yeah, no, that's great. You're right. Okay.
I had one other thing here. I've been in the branch, and I mentioned in the branch that we have issues with the grab bars in the washrooms being corroded, and that we need to have the supplier look at that and see whether they should be replaced under the presumably under the warranty that would be included with it.
I've been advised that the warranty period has expired. So if we're going to replace them or correct them, that's on us.
Well, that is unfortunate because they are
New
crap.
branch.
Well, that and the design of the toilets, Bob, you had raised the issue about like when the lid is up, the button that can see that it needs to be flushed doesn't work. And so I had talked to the architect and the contractor about replacing getting rid of the lids. But apparently if you don't have the lids there, that you then have to have a metal back support. So we haven't done too much because initially we were letting people in and not letting them use the washroom. And then, we still have capacity limits. So we're not getting a lot of action in the washrooms, but you're right. This is something that needs to be dealt with, as do, removing the lids and putting in the back supports so that they flush properly.
How long ago did our warranty expire?
It expired just before they started to look like crap. Because
Planned
of course,
obsolescence, huh?
well, yeah, maybe that's my washing machine is a year and 2 months old and the same thing has happened. The thing that's really screwed us over in some sense is that, we took possession of the building and we weren't in it for a long time. And then we weren't even open to the public. And then, so a lot of the things that we could have caught in the time frame that you would expect us to catch them weren't. Right. And so if we do another building, which I'll be dead, so that's okay. But
well, I hope not. We're going to be doing Creemore before too long.
well, that's true.
Maybe I'll be retired by then.
I don't think this is going to happen again. We'll, if we're not in this kind of situation, we would be functioning in the building with normal levels, and we would spot these things as we did when we moved into the new Lowell building, right? As soon as it was ready for occupation, we were in and open to the public. And when there were some anomalies that came out, we thought, okay, yes, this has to be addressed. And it was within timeframes that were acceptable for warranties and that sort of thing. But unfortunately.
I'm just wondering if there is some argument for going back to them and saying, excuse me, but the warranty really isn't elapsed here because we have not used this. And this is not.
Well, then they're going to get their lawyers involved. I can tell you that, because the warranty is not based on how the building is used. The warranty is strictly on the time that they handed it over to us.
Right.
Okay, so they would not give it all.
I have talked to some of the other ones, not on this particular issue, but we've had some other issues come up and not one of them has budged. And I'm not surprised. If they did budge, they'd be budging for everybody and they'd never get anything done. But I'm not sure what this is going to cost. Okay, and I will figure that out. But no, we're not going to get these on warranty. That's going to be on us.
So,
And
Jennifer,
I would suggest that when we're doing it, we do the whole thing, do the toilet seats, do the bars. And first I'd like to talk to our general contractor and see if there's any way they're already there. Is there some way that we can correct the corrosion problem?
I'm wondering whether those grab bars could be sandblasted or something that would remove the rust and then sealed with some sort of a sealer that would prevent it from rusting again.
There's probably some really, easier fix than simply replacing them.
Yeah.
Right. So let me talk with our general contractor about that and see what he can do.
Okay. And this is something I just happened to find going into the branch the other day. I don't know whether it's still active or not, but there appears to be a water shutoff valve for the building at the front entrance, partially buried by tarmac. It just occurs to me that that's a strange place to have it when we're going to be putting a new finish over top of that. But at the same time, if there was an emergency for our water situation, we certainly would be highly susceptible to any flooding situations. If that is not available, or if it's not easily accessible, to shut off the water to the building, something we maybe should consider as being something to look at before.
I will talk to the general manager for the Parks and Recreation. He's really been very helpful in assisting with components of the building that are not exclusive to the library. And this would be one of them. So I will get in touch with him about this tonight. And he will not get back to me until after Christmas, I'm sure, but we'll get on that and see. Are there other water shutoffs in the building? There's other water within the building. There are water shutoffs. I can't even say the words. So it's not just that.
The reason I bring it up is because it looks like it might be specific to the library, because it's located in a place where there was no building before. And it doesn't look like it would be at a place where it would have the water access for the arena.
No,
So-
but it may be access for the community center, because when we think about the building as the library, but it also includes the atrium and the revitalizations, shall we say, of the community center. So let me check with Terry Vachon about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
You'd be able to answer that question a lot easier and address any concerns we might have easier than I could.
Okay.
That's it. No more. Sorry.
Any other new businesses somebody would like to bring forward? No, it's not. Okay, I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Mary? Everybody in favor?
Well, thank you very much. Have a
Merry
wonderful
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Stay
Christmas
safe.
all.
Christmas, everybody.
Don't forget to wear
safe.
your mask.
Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
See you in the new year.
See you in 2022.
See you
Take
next
care
year.
of